Right, well, in new revelations today, current serving Special Forces soldiers and veterans have accused the government of planning to strip meritorious service awards months ago before the Brereton report became public. They claim the enlistment of the Queen and changes to the letters pattern indicates punishment was planned before the war crimes report was released.
The allegations are confronting, are shocking and, if proven, are un-Australian. But what is un-Australian is not affording the due process, standing up an entire office of the Special Investigator, changing rules behind closed doors. We want it brought to the forefront, we want due process afforded, and want the Australian public to know what is going on.
To discuss this and more, I'm now joined by Sky News Political Editor Andrew Clennell in Canberra. A little bit of chronology here for people who haven't caught up with the news today. It would appear, Andrew, that changes to the way the awards could be withdrawn was done back in July via the Palace, via the Governor-General, letters pattern, but only became known more broadly when the Brereton report was released in mid-November. Now, I have to say, I've followed this closely the last couple of weeks. I think this issue is really moving away from the government here now.
I don't think there's any doubt that's causing the government difficulties, Peter. I think that's one of the reasons they're resisting a Veterans Royal Commission in the same sort of space. You know, for state governments, it's poison to be seen to be not backing the police. In the same way, I guess, for a federal government, it's political poison to be not seen to be backing the armed forces. And Jackie Lambie's really pushing this. Labor's pushing it. Heston Russell's got to be said, a very articulate spokesman for the troops here. The guy looks like he should be in politics, frankly, with the clarity with which he's speaking and the effectiveness with which he's advocating. And I think Scott Morrison and his people are very alive to the political dangers here. But, you know, they've been given this massive problem to deal with. This report has taken so long to land. When it has landed, Scott Morrison was in Japan when it occurred, or in quarantine. But now, you know, the chickens are coming home to roost. And it all started, I guess, with General Campbell saying the meritorious award would be stripped off all of them, no matter what. That wasn't helpful. And now you've got Heston Russell here today pushing even further and these revelations. So, look, I don't think there's any doubt that the government would have known for some time that there were going to be findings against certain soldiers, charges against certain soldiers. So, yes, they would have laid the groundwork, but it now seems every revelation in connection with this issue is a political problem for the government.
I'll come back to Heston Russell in a moment. I watched the press conference today and I saw how angry the crossbench Senator Jackie Lambie was. I don't necessarily like her media presentation. I think on this issue too, I think she's been opportunistic in sidling up to Heston. He was out there for a number of weeks before, you know, Lambie's hitched her bandwagon to this issue. But no, she's been out there in Veterans Affairs for some time. But her anger is deepening. She is a vote the government can't afford to get offside. Let's have a listen to her today.
Nobody has been proven guilty yet. And quite frankly, you're about 10 steps ahead. And you don't even know where this is going to end up. This could take years. So to cut in early like this, quite frankly, has been a really, really bad decision on behalf of all of you, and you should be ashamed of yourselves. So I'm asking you to put the welfare of these soldiers and their families first and foremost, just for once, but back it off.
Interesting, Andrew, you know, government's talking IR today. They made the announcement in relation to a media code. They're trying to finish the year on the high, and I think there's no doubt the PM's ahead of the opposition leader. But there's things that happen in Canberra that seem lower order issues that cut through with clarity to households, you know, country towns and communities around the country. This is one of those issues. This is cut through like nothing else. This is the problem for the government.
Yeah, spot on, Peter. I mean, the IR reforms, they're complicated, right? So they kind of go over the head of most people. They'll wait till next year to see what actually happens in relation to those before they'll worry about it. And Google and Facebook, obviously, we're interested in the future of journalism. We're interested in that. But, again, the punters don't care. Heston Russell up there with Jackie Lambie, well, it's a good thing for Jackie Lambie. Bit of a masterstroke, that presser, wasn't it? I mean, it got pretty confrontational and heated at times with journalists who were questioning about what about the war crimes themselves, and that was pretty engaging and interesting too. But, yeah, I mean, Lambie, back it off. I mean, yeah, I just wonder, actually, Peter, you know, Matthias Cormann was the crossbench whisperer. We both know that. I wonder how Simon Birmingham, old Burmo's, going with that job at the moment. He might be discovering exactly how hard it is. The guy's got finance. He's had to keep trade until the reshuffle, which the PM's delayed till the end of the year, and his government leader in the Senate having to negotiate with the likes of Jackie Lambie. But he's also, I'd rather be me or you than him at the moment.
He's also a moderate, you know, and the crossbench are predominantly on the further edge of the right, and so there's not a simpatico like there was with Matthias Cormann. This is, I think, another problem.
I agree.
Just on Heston Russell.
But he's a good soldier.
Look, yeah.
So to speak.
Look, Heston Russell looks like he's straight out of central casting for Special Forces, obviously. But I have been impressed at how articulate he was, has been to date, but was today because it got pretty willing, particularly Andrew Probyn from the ABC. He was quite attacking of Heston. Now, you don't often see in these press conferences for people at home, do you, Andrew, where someone who's external to the building, so not a partisan, gets rounded on like that in that press conference. I was a bit surprised by that. What was behind the push by the ABC?
Well, I guess the killing field is their story, and it's actually, I should confess, it's a friend of mine, Mark Willisey, who I knew in Canberra 20 years ago, who did that story, and he got a particular footage of someone being shot who appeared to be unarmed. So he was questioning him about that, but Heston Russell's point was, what is the heat of battle, as if to say, have you ever been in battle, mate? So it was quite good television, wasn't it? I mean, it was interesting. I think Heston Russell's trying to say, Heston Russell is saying, by the way, that some of the accusations are heinous, un-Australian, whatever. He's not completely defending every single thing here, but he's also saying, look at the pressure on the troops. And I think polling would show you that the majority of the Australian public have that view. And, you know, if someone's done the wrong thing, of course they should be punished. But this concept of everyone being tarred with the same brush, that doesn't go well with the Australian public at all.
Yeah, basically, you've never picked up a rifle, you've never had to defend your life or your country. That was, you know, that's my paraphrasing, but that was basically the comeback from Heston Russell, and it shut the bomb up. It's a bit like when they come at politicians about this, that and the other thing and they've never put the name on a ballot paper. I thought that was very well handled today. I want to go to another issue in the chamber. A lot of question time taken up by a very resurgent Bill Shorten. Now, that I'm sure hasn't escaped your attention either, but the opposition were going hard on Robodebt. They were making this all about the Prime Minister. Let's have a listen.
He was the Social Services Minister who announced the illegal Robodebt scheme in 2015. He was the Treasurer who announced $2 billion in savings from the illegal Robodebt scheme in 2016. And he was the Prime Minister who agreed to pay $1.2 billion to the victims of his illegal Robodebt scheme.
Right. In terms of attacks cutting through, I think the soldiers' issue is far more damaging for the government than this. But what's your take?
Well, I agree, and the fact is a lot of Australians haven't got a lot of sympathy for people who are on welfare, so that's one of the reasons the government, and particularly Scott Morrison, who introduced the scheme, are a bit politically protected on it, Peter. But if someone like me, a journalist covering it, we should tell the people that they basically cost us $1.2 billion. With, you know, more than 100 million of that in compensation, and it's been a complete screw up, and you wonder if they screw up that bad, what else can go wrong in other areas? So I think Bill Shorten's had a real win here. No one's talking about Bill Shorten as an alternative leader. I think in his heart of hearts he hopes years down the track John Howard style he can do it again, but most of his colleagues think that's fanciful. But it does illustrate that he is able to campaign on an issue back from his time in the AWU, Peter, and cut through in a fashion that Anthony Albanese is not. And that is a massive focus of Labor MPs and indeed journalists as we end this year, is the performance of Anthony Albanese and the fact he's not able to get the stories up, he's not able to get the attacks up, he's not able to keep the themes consistent. And on this issue at least, Bill Shorten's shown him up a little bit, I have to say.
That's a very good point. It may not be burnishing the credentials of Shorten, but it's highlighting the deficiencies of Albanese. So, you know, they may well go to someone else other than Shorten, of course, but it's showing that the guy they have there doesn't have it. Just a quick one. The Prime Minister was addressing the final party room meeting of the year. Let's have a listen.
Over the course of this year, Australians have probably looked to and relied upon the strength and stability and unity of their government more so than they have for many generations.
Well, it's been an extraordinary year, as we know, 2020, but the PM ends the year far better than he started it, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's killing it. You know, I think the thing that really has assisted, obviously, is the health results and the fact that because of that, less lockdowns. I know you've had to suffer down there, Peter, but generally around the rest of Australia has meant that the economy's going better than we might have anticipated. He resisted JobKeeper initially, but got it in time, and it's had a massive effect. I accept your point. We got some debt to pay back, and that's our number one concern, really. And now we've got the vaccine on the way. I mean, he couldn't be better positioned. And the benefit of COVID politically for him occurring after the fires, of course, we don't want any of these disasters to occur, is it allowed him to show that he can perform in a crisis and he can be a strong, stable leader in a crisis and even empathetic. And that was a problem for him after the fires, a serious problem. The other crisis occurring straight away really assisted Scott Morrison politically this year, Peter.
Thanks for all your terrific analysis all year, Andrew. It's been great to have you on the program. Enjoy your Christmas break, and we'll look forward to getting back into it when Parliament resumes next year in February.
It's a pleasure, Peter. Good on you.